Today we're talking about animals and their connection to the paranormal. If you guys are new to subscribe, check out our spooky playlist. We will leave our paranormal playlist below. We have all sorts of interesting stuff on that. I'm Morticia. This is my darling husband, Gomez. And my sister, Ophelia, with her bird, Virgo.
Virgo. Say hi, Virgo. There you go.
He's being shy.
He's putting his head down like pet my head.
Everybody can figuratively, mentally pet his head while we're being metaphysical up in here. So we thought it would be cool to hang out with him in the video since we're talking about animals. And I have a video about animals and spirits, like if they can see ghosts and Ouija board experiences that I had involving two animals. And one was seeing stuff and one wasn't. So that's in the paranormal playlist. Check it out. It's the Ouija board video. I think we only have one of those right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you'll know it when you see it. But there's all kinds of ways that animals interact on a different level that show us that they're interacting on a different level. Like, unless you really teach animals, obviously, they're not going to know English. They're not going to understand what you're saying in words unless you train them. You know what I mean? And we've had a lot of experiences that show animals understand you where they shouldn't. If you're looking at what science says animals can understand or know or be aware of. So my theory is that they are obviously more intelligent than people think, but that they understand us on a more primitive level in the mind. Everything starts in the mind first. And you can think telekinesis or whatever, but I think they understand our mental waves and they can connect and communicate. That's just my opinion. What do you think, Gomez?
I like that. I think they do understand mental concepts, and that's my experience with my dog, where he could seemingly understand me and do certain things that other dogs couldn't. So, including, for example, his ability to eat when he didn't want to. He understood that it was good for him when he was really sick, and I tried to communicate to him that he should try to eat a banana, something that he would not normally eat, and he still tried it a little bit, and that's how his eating started. So just because I told him mentally, and he received it so well.
And you said before that he wasn't eating for days, so
Yeah.
It wasn't like he would have eaten it anyway for you. He really wasn't trying to do that. And sometimes we're doing it when we speak out loud, because if I'm thinking it and saying it at the same time, maybe it provides more of a punch. I had the same thing with our bird. He had high triglycerides. He was eating food that normally would have been healthy for a bird to eat, but because of his inherited conditions that he was born with, it was not working out for him, so we had to change it to a different one. And our vet was astonished that we got him to eat it in a week when other birds would take like a month to totally change over their food. And we did some intelligent things like ground it up, make it smaller, like his old food, the same size, sort of. We ate a little bit of it to show him this is what you do with it. But I also told him, his name was Goblin, and I said, Goblin, if you don't do this, you're going to die, like really. And I'm not trying to scare you. I love you, and I'm being really serious. You have to change your diet. You have to. It's really important. It's about your health. And he just seemed to understand, he was looking at me. He was serious. He was calm. He seemed like he was in a different state, sort of, I guess, more receptive, but a different state than his usual state. He was a lot more active. Even when I would talk to him, he would run back and forth, and you could tell he was listening to me, but he would be active, and he was still and calm, and he was serious, and he was looking at me it was a different state. I hadn't seen him like that, so I could tell we were connecting on a different level, and it felt cool. And I thought, I feel good. I feel like he understands. We had a good talk, and it worked. He changed his food and he started eating, and it was awesome. And he lived several more years because of that, as did Gomez's dog, right?
Yes.
I want to talk briefly about this other bird we had named Calcifer. I met him actually in a dream. I had a bird when I was 9, and the bird passed away when I was 14. And I had a dream about her 3 years later when I was 17. I grew up with animals, birds mainly around, but it was always kind of cool. But she, I knew her. I guess in the dream I knew it was her right away, and it felt like her energy, but it was her. And she told me that I should get another bird now and that I was ready. And she said, and it wasn't words, it was just like I had this knowledge concept plopped in my head of this bird named Calcifer. And Howl's Moving Castle is my favorite book ever. If you guys have seen the movie, you got to read the book because it's so different and so much better. But Calcifer from Howl's Moving Castle, I never thought about, I want to name an animal after him or anything, but in my dream, the bird was white. He was a parakeet with very calm disposition. His name was Calcifer. and he was white, and I just knew this was who I should go get. So I went to the pet store the next day. Like, I heard my dream. It was so real. It was so vivid, and it felt just like something I had to go do. And so I went and followed the advice of the dream and did this. And I went to the pet store, and the bird that had the most white was just standing there at the front of the, like, enclosure, just looking at me like he was waiting. And I went to the owner, the guy who worked there first, and I said, I want the bird with the most white, and a male, please. And he goes, wow, he's standing there looking at you. And I turned, and he's just like waiting at the front of the cage, like, okay, let's go, let's do this. And the bird with the most white in the pet store was male. So that's the point. Like, and he was just standing there in front, and he was just waiting, and he was very calm, like in my dream. I never had to train him. I never had to teach him to sit on my finger or to let me hold him. Like, we were just always very connected. And he lived 11 years. And the point of this is Gomez's dog lived 11 years. And they were 2 years apart in age. Like, 2 years apart. They both lived 11 years. And they were both very calm of disposition. They were both very intelligent. And they both did not like their own kind. So it's like, okay, they died at the same age. They lived the same time. I mean, like 2 years apart. I don't know. It just seems metaphysical to me. It seems kind of fated. It does not seem normal.
I don't think Virgo is really into his own kind either, but I don't think his is active I think his is more...
I think he knows he's more evolved, but they were actually hostile. Like,
Virgo's
Calcifer would beat up other parakeets and be really mean. He beat up a cockatiel. He was scared of this cockatiel, not Virgo, but my other sister Annette had a cockatiel named Sadie, and she was not very nice to a lot of people, but my sister. And she was mean to my bird, and he kind of got terrorized at first. He was like, whoa, what is this? I've never seen a bird like way bigger than me. So he didn't know what to do. And then I think he thought about it and got mad, because the next time he saw her, he went and beat her up. So, and again, the dog that was also 11 years old and that was 2 years apart from him, his name was Gingic. And Gingic would do the same thing. He would beat up all kinds of dogs. And like Calcifer with the cockatiel, even dogs that were bigger than him, right, Gomez?
Yeah, one time he got crazy enough to try to attack a horse because he was so much bigger that
He's like, yeah, I can take this.
He already got used to beating other dogs with his wrestling system, so the horse was maybe a better challenge.
And he would fight like different too. Again, talking about paranormal and connections and animals being different. This dog, he was about the size of a Cocker Spaniel. He was a Belgian Griffin, right?
Yes.
So he's the size of a Cocker Spaniel, and he would stand up on his hind legs and slap these other dogs in the face with his front paws, right? Like,
yeah, it was like a whole punch. It would knock most of them out from the first.
Who punched them in the face? A dog is going to punch them in the face, and that I've never heard of that before. So I just think it's interesting. And Calcifer would do the same thing. When we found out he was diabetic, Gomez was having to give him liquid medicine in his mouth. And he took the syringe and drop kicked it sort of out of Gomez's hand. Like, he was doing martial arts, the bird. So they were both really skilled, kind of unique fighters. And the point of the dog and the bird, and why I'm mentioning that, is it really did strike me that they both lived to 11, and they were 2 years apart in age, like Gomez and I. He and I are 2 years apart in age. So it was like, wow, us and our animals. And we discovered after they passed through some spiritual connections that they've been with us in every life. They're kind of like our spirit brothers. So that makes sense. But it's that's what I mean. That's not normal. That's paranormal stuff right there. And it's pretty cool to think like of that connection, a familiar connection, or, you know, whatever the animals have. But Virgo is really smart. He's not my familiar, but he's my friend. And I can say something and he'll respond like he just did. You see that? He's saying, yes, I am hearing you, and yes, I'm responding. And I'm doing it on camera because I'm cool. See, he wasn't saying a word before. And I was just wanting to use that as an example, because you'll know that they're saying something to you because they won't have said a word before. And when you say something relevant, they chirp, if we were talking about birds, you know, at the right time. And I'm visually impaired, and Virgo was in the room, and I had my craft basket because I make jewelry. It's a big orange basket because I love Halloween, so it's orange. And I had it sitting on the floor, and my depth perception is really bad. So I'm walking around going, where the heck did I put that? It's a huge, ginormous basket, and I'm losing it. Like, really? Where is it? And I walked past it, and he chirped, like right when I passed it. So he was going, I can see it. It's right there. I'm like, thank you. That's really awesome. So, like, he told me where it was. And he does that to Ophelia all the time, right?
Yeah, he does that. It started when it was only bird food, and then, you know, a lot of times I'll just talk to him because it's just us, and I'll
See, he
say
chirped
all
again. He's
kinds of
like,
stuff
yeah,
to him. You know, one day I was like, hey, Virgo, where's my headphones? I really wish I had my headphones. And, you know, I was reaching, and, you know, I got this feeling that I should go in a different direction, and they were there. It was
So
just,
I think
yeah.
they talk to us mentally the same way we talk to them. Like
What
she said, she got a
concepts?
feeling, so it's like him going, no, this way, and he just chirped again, like he's saying, yes, that's right. And you can say, well, that's random. You know, he's chirping. He could just chirp. No, he wasn't chirping earlier, and that's how we start to notice things. It's like he chirped in agreement with me. He wasn't chirping earlier when I was talking about the dog because the dog wasn't about him. And just because I said his name doesn't mean anything, because I said his name several other times in the video if you go look back, and he was not chirping because it wasn't relevant. So that kind of thing has happened to us a lot, and it's always just been like, am I imagining that? And then you talk about something else and they're not responding, and you go back to that and they chirp again or respond again the same way, and it's like, wow, they do understand. They get it.
I remember when Virgo, when my cockatiel Elena died, and Virgo loves to explore the floor. Like, it's really hard to keep him from exploring the floor. And he actually let me hold him, and I fell asleep with him. He was on my chest, and he actually didn't explore or go anywhere. Like, he felt that I needed him, and he actually stayed. And I'm sure that was a monumental effort for him.
And it wasn't because he was upset about Elena dying, because
No,
he didn't
he
really
was
like
not.
her. So it wasn't like they were comforting each other or anything.
Not.
Say, she was mean to me.
Yeah,
Animals keep it real. I don't think he had a party, but he was like, I'm not going to pretend to be sorry. I don't care. She wasn't nice to me. Whatever.
Yeah, he really did not seem to be grieving at all.
Which to me is more natural if you didn't like the person. Like,
Mm.
maybe I'm just an animal.
Oh my gosh. And Virgo would tell me, I didn't know this until later, but when my other roommate would walk in the room and try to get my attention because I'd be playing headphones, and Virgo would try to warn me and stuff, and he'd get louder and louder. And I just thought he was yelling, you know, and I was ignoring him, and, you know,
It's
Jennifer
like, I'm
was
trying
like,
to tell you
know,
something.
he tries to tell you.
Oh, I've got to talk about Calcifer and the cat.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yes, Calcifer is the parakeet that lived till 11. He was so smart. He was sarcastic. Like, I would say he would eat too much. He'd get really fat. He was really fat. And I would say, you know, fat boy needs to exercise. He's eating too much. And he would go eat. Like, you know what?
Really would.
Matter of fact, let me prove a point. You know, he would go eat. He was funny. But Ophelia once told him.
Well,
she
okay,
was.
let's start out by saying
Okay.
that, first of all, I actually saved him from a kitty once. And so for some reason after that, I would always be like, Calcifer, I'm going to feed you to the kitty. And he just ignored me. And one day I was like, Calcifer, you know, one day I really am going to feed you to a kitty. Like, all serious. And he goes, fuck you. Really clear.
Enunciated between the words so
And he
that.
normally just, you know, interspersed his talking with Twitters. Where he wants to go in his cage.
Yeah,
And-
he wanted to make sure she heard him clearly.
Yeah,
so.
I was like, whoa, that was awesome. Fuck you.
He's like, I want you to understand that I know what you just said to me.
This is what I have to say about that.
And my roommate at the time, because Calcifer was fat and lazy, said that he wasn't a real bird and he never flew. And Calcifer was upset about that and flew out of my hand all the way upstairs, which was effort for him, onto my roommate's bed where he took a crap and then sat there and waited for my roommate to come get him, because he was like, I am fat and lazy, so I don't want to go all the way back down, but you can come get me and see what I left you. Like, so there, I guess I'm a real bird because I flew upstairs to your bedroom. And he knew where my roommate's bedroom was because of the fact that he, as in Calcifer, not my roommate, thought that if he was out of my sight that I was doing something special and cool and awesome and he was missing it. Like, if he couldn't see me, he was positive that it was something really good. So whenever I would go, my roommate was a chef and he did the cooking, so I did like laundry. We split it up. And we cleaned up the dishes and stuff. So I was good. I got all kinds of awesome fancy food. Like, it was awesome. It was posh. It was bougie. So I'm sitting there doing laundry upstairs, just folding it and putting it away in his room. And Calcifer has a cow every day, just screaming his head off. Sure, he's missing something. So I break eventually, and I just start carrying him upstairs and putting him on my roommate's dresser in his cage, while I did laundry. And I know that's spoiling him. Everybody's like, I can't believe you did that. But you know what?
Sometimes it's just easier.
It really is. You don't
For the
have to
mental
hear him
health of
screaming
both.
and screaming and screaming. And he was little, but he could be loud. Like,
Oh,
for a little
really-
parakeet,
they
he get
really
loud.
can.
So I eventually just started carrying him upstairs and letting him, you know, be in the room while I did laundry. So he knew where the laundry was. Excuse me, he knew where the bedroom was. And he would, you know, obviously go up there every day when I would do it. So he knew where it was. So that's how he was able to go and take a dump on my roommate's bed. Sorry, we did not get much sleep, so I feel like I'm sounding more vague.
Virgo is not, he is like other birds, like in the fact that he really loves millet. He lives and breathes for the existence of millet. But
Just her.
he wants, you know, I try to get him to eat healthier stuff, and he's really into it. But he will actually go eat his millet and then go eat some healthy food. And then he'll go back. He will actually alternate.
And millet's not particularly bad. It's just they need
No.
other things in their diet. He
And-
tries to feed her because Ophelia is not as healthy as we would like
he
her
really
to be.
does. I don't know if he just happens to have something in his beak and tries to do the kissy, or if he's trying to feed me. One day
He's
he
like,
really
"Here,
was trying
have-"
to feed me. I remember the time I was trying to get him to eat these. I think it was Supreme or something. And I was like, "Come on, Virgo," and I kept trying to feed it. To
Oh,
him.
this was nasty bird food she was trying to
Oh
get him to eat.
yeah, it was laughable.
It was gross.
Oh man, and I was like, "Come on, Virgo," and he just leaned up and tried to feed me the pellet. Like
He was like, you know,
eat
you
it.
try this,
You eat it,
and you see what it's like, and then you see if
he
I should
didn't
eat
like
it.
regurgitate it or anything.
No, it wasn't like the bird sharing love. He was
No,
just like, you
it
need
was
to.
like,
So that's cool that they're that smart, that they understand. And it's not all paranormal. Birds are very smart, you know.
We're nasty.
I'm sure you've read articles before, most people have by now, about crows and how smart they are, like getting stuff out of vending machines and all that. So the Virgo wanting to feed her the nasty food to show her what it was like, it worked. He didn't have to eat it anymore because she's like, this is really gross. No wonder he doesn't like it.
This is nasty.
Notice him chirping more because we're talking about him. He knows. But it's like, yeah, they know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And they're just smart. But some of it is more like, okay, that is not scientifically explainable. Like the food was, okay, it's just a neat story to share.
Yeah.
But some of it is just like, that should not have been able to make sense. Like the dog knowing how to eat, the similarities the dog and the bird had, and no, they did not grow up together. They grew up in different countries, didn't they, Gomez?
Yes.
And, you know, just stuff like that's just very fascinating. So, and the dream I had about Calcifer, and he was there the next day, and he looked just like he was supposed to look, and he was calm, like the whole thing. But it's very cool, and the fact that they understand us, and I do think it's mental. So, just interesting stuff. If you guys have any interesting animal stuff, do share it with us. Virgo would love to hear it.
Yeah.
And he thanks you for watching. We thank you for watching, and until next time.
Stay spooky, my friends.